Post-training notice. National First-Class Registered Exorcist. Extra Chapter. A Thunderous Basket, Part 1. Everyone is here now, right? N. Oh. Hey. Ah. Talk, 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 hurry up and talk. Lao Niang has to do some shopping this afternoon. We will now start the meeting. This subject of this meeting is the personal life of Comrade Gagantoru Akita. The focus and essence of this meeting is to solve the big marriage issue that Comrade Gagantoru Akita is facing and help him overcome the difficulties brought about by love. As we all know, Comrade Gagantoru is a good comrade. He is rigorous in his work, strict on himself, lenient towards others, and is brave, fearless, and amiable. As a cadre member, he is close to the masses, and has experienced the life of Yaogwai at the most menial of levels. He is not afraid of hardship or fatigue, and has established a positive image for the Exorcist Committee. He is the backbone of the new generation of the Exorcist Committee. He is brimming with majesty and the ability to single-handedly hold a pass so that 10,000 people cannot charge in. He treats enemies as ruthlessly as the autumn wind sweeps away the leaves. When Yaogwai see him, they all lower the flags and stop beating the drums. Xianhezi, are you holding a memorial service? How are you using this phrase, lowering the flags and stop beating the drums? I thought you had some good ideas. Hurry up and get to the point. Otherwise Lao Zi will beat you to death. Hurry up. Or else Fengli will be here soon to check out the meeting. Okay, Director, don't worry. Now, Comrade Gagantoru has encountered a small problem in his love life. The organization is holding this meeting with the original intention of caring for the lives of our cadre members. We hope that everyone who has money can contribute money, and those who can put in effort will put in effort, and through our collective wisdom and effort, assist Comrade Gagantoru in solving his life's major problem. With full enthusiasm, we can now return to work. Now, let's let Director Chen speak. I don't have anything to say, you guys can do as you please. Xiaoduo, can you think of something? You're calling on me? Then let me make a few more points. Actually, this issue is one of historical legacy, based on the original intention of the organization to care for the emotional life of young comrades. I suggest temporarily transferring Comrade Gagantoru back to Beijing so that he can cultivate a new relationship with Comrade Zhou Wanyuan, because as the saying goes, fuck you and your sister. Zhou Wanyuan finally burst out and roared, new relationship, so you called Lao Niang over to your damn meeting just because you wanted to say that? Zhou Wanyuan flipped the conference table over and dragged Xianhezi into the corner. The others all raised their heads. In the video, Xianhezi was dragged away by Zhou Wanyuan, and a mournful cry came from the corner. Chen Zhen. Xiang Cheng. Zhi Xiaoduo minimized the video window, placed it next to the desktop, clicked on Hearthstone, and continued playing his card game. After a moment, Zhou Wanyuan stormed back up to the camera, turned it around, headed towards the corner, and rushed back like a gust of wind, continuing to beat up Xianhezi. Xiang Cheng, then let's just end the meeting for now. Chen Zhen asked in the video, are the renovations finished? Almost. Xiang Cheng said, it's scheduled to be done by the Zhongyuan festival, so you can travel here in advance. Xiaoduo and I will go to Chongqing next week, just in time to take you guys to Chengdu. Then let's make a tentative plan for next week, Chen Zhen said. Zhi Xiaoduo looked at Kita in the video and wanted to say something, but Kita hung up with a bored expression. Asterisk. Sunshine shone upon all four corners of the sacred land, and within the huge holes and caverns inside the mountain, columns of light were scattered. It looked like a secret realm, with butterflies flying in the air. Kita took down the cell phone leaning against the table, put it in his pocket, and sighed. Kita. Feng Li's voice called out from behind him. Hey, Kita immediately grew energized and turned around to look at Fengli. Kita was wearing a safety helmet on his head. It was a bit hot in the sacred land during the summer, and the central air conditioner unit still hadn't been turned on yet, so Kita was going around patrolling the beast tribes wearing nothing but a pair of blue suspender pants. His bronze skin held a strong beauty. Fengli said, "We've been looking for you all morning." Kita hurriedly said, "I was picking things out on Dobao and I want to choose a swing for you." Fengli then said, "There's something that requires your opinion. Please come with me to the temple." Kita followed Fengli to the temple, which had been renovated and have had the exterior walls cleaned. Zhi Xiaoduo had specially hired several well-known designers to create a conceptual theme park design. How could a closed theme park within a mountain receive sunlight and moonlight, and see the stars? The designers proposed the concept of using special materials to transform the mountain shell and open multiple windows to allow light to enter. So, Zhi Xiaoduo convened the Yaoguai and turned this idea into reality through the use of magic. There were many skylights distributed across the mountain now, and looking down from the mountain, everything seemed normal. Special rocks had been used to light the interior of the sacred land. At the top of the sacred land, there was a glimmer of sky. When it rained or snowed, the airflow in the cave would pick up the rainwater and distribute it evenly throughout the entire sacred city. With his powerful hands-on abilities, Kita built a sculpture garden for the beast tribes and bought many plants using his own money. He turned the beast section into a huge three-dimensional park in the form of the yin-yang symbol, with Fengli's sparkling throne in the center. Behind the throne, there was a huge ancient tree with scattered branches and leaves, covering the beast section and connecting the Fox King Square with all the buildings in the beast section. Yaoguai could move along the branches and go to their respective residences. The temple retained its original architectural style. At the start of this, the Yaoguai had suggested setting up a statue for Xiang Cheng and Zhi Xiaoduo with Xiang Cheng holding a seed of Mara in his left hand and looking fearlessly into the distance, while his right hand held Zhi Xiaoduo. Zhi Xiaoduo would look forward, pointing one hand forward as a guide for the Yao clan's future. Of course, in the end, there was strong opposition from Zhi Xiaoduo, and the statue was changed to something else. "Do you think this is feasible?" Fengli stood in front of the sculpture and asked. "It should be possible, but," Kita looked at the large words at the foot of the temple. ******. The 10,000 Yao Temple. Fengli said, "I'm afraid the Ba Snake King will oppose it. Every Yao King will have a statue, but for some reason, none of them seem to like theirs very much." On the top of the divine hall for the corpse ghosts that fell in battle, there was a statue of the corpse ghost king holding a long halberd and steering his horse towards the distance. "I think they might feel that this kind of sculpture is too silly," Kita said. "It's not about the sculpture, it's just the meaning it's expressing." Fengli said, "You are quite familiar with this aspect, so what kind of sculpture do you think they will like?" Kita thought for a moment and shook his head. Fengli then said, "Why don't we also have the great king ride on a horse and have the emperor sit in front of him, looking into the distance, mimicking the sculpture of the ghost king?" Kita put a hand on his forehead and said, "Forget it, let's just go with this ba." Everyone covered the sculpture with red cloth and waited for Xiang Cheng to unveil it on the night of the Zhongyuan festival. The corpse ghost king was playing with a drone in the square in front of the temple, while the eagle king and kun king were playing golf. Fengli and Kita entered together. The interior of the temple had been renovated, and murals of Yaoguai based on ancient legends covered the dome. Several painters who were spray painting greeted them, and Fengli nodded in response. "Thanks for your hard work," Kita shouted. "Take a look at this." Fengli pressed his hand on a stone in the center of the altar. Kita looked up at the dome, with the center of the ceiling as the core area. Countless runes were hidden under the painting, glowing with a faint light. "The array was designed by the Empress," Fengli said. "If the sacred land is invaded, the murals will release the spirits of the Yao, which will attack the invaders." Keaton nodded, and Fengli said, "When it comes time, please report this matter to the Exorcist Committee." Kita smiled helplessly and said, "It can't be that even now, you're still on your guard around us, right? I'm just worried about exorcists who don't understand the vastness of the world deciding to barge in," Fengli said. "Although we've decided to live in peace with humans, it's always good to let them know first." "As long as Xiaoduo and Xiangcheng are here," Kita said, "no conflict will arise." 100 years can pass like that, Fengli said lightly. "What about 200 years? 1,000 years? Time flies like a snap of a finger, and everything is unpredictable." Kita didn't say anything more. He just let out an N. As night fell over the sacred land, moonlight shone down, and Fengli said, "You've worked hard, please take a break." As he spoke, he turned around and left. Kita had wanted to say something, but these days, Fengli had always been like this. After finishing a task, he would say, "Please take a break," meaning they should all go do their own things. If Kita still stubbornly clung to him, Fengli would find a way to send him away. Kita quickly stepped down from the temple and returned to the beast area. As he left the central area, he looked up at Fengli, but Fengli hadn't gone far. He just stood quietly on one side of the temple, watching the city's lights. The sacred land had already been rebuilt, and there were only a few final steps left. Among the 4 areas, the most attention had been focused on the beast area. Under the towering ancient trees, fireflies flit everywhere. Fengli took out his phone, took a photo, opened his moments, and added 2 words, "New home." Not long after he posted that, he then deleted it. A drone flew over and buzzed past. The corpse ghost king seemed to have fallen in love with this new toy. As a burly zombie, he didn't have to eat or drink water, so he just stood in front of the temple every day to play with the drone without getting tired of it. "That guy is pretty good," the corpse ghost king said. "You have all been bought out by him," Fengli said lightly. After arriving at the sacred land, Kita found ways to introduce new life experiences and fun things to the Yao Kings. He bought them cell phones, taught them how to play with a PSP and how to put together model kits. He bought drones on Doubao, played on eBay and Amazon, and mailed everything to the office in Fengdu for several Yaoguai to collect. It was to the point that the corpse ghost king and Kun Lord were waiting at home for deliveries every day. The Kun Lord and Eagle King played golf every day in the bird area. Why not consider him? The corpse ghost king clearly started from his own perspective. Fengli didn't give a direct answer and changed the topic instead by asking, "Ghost King, do you think His Majesty is satisfied with such a sacred land?" "I don't know if His Majesty is satisfied or not." The corpse ghost king lowered his head and replaced the battery for the remote control. His fingers were too big, and he couldn't handle any tasks that were too dexterous. Fengli took it and helped him replace the battery. "The sacred land has been built like this," the corpse ghost king said with a hint of emotion. "You had to leave here before you could even develop your spiritual wisdom. You don't know what the sacred land used to be like, so you can't compare it to today." "What was the former sacred land like?" Fengli asked. The corpse ghost king said, "A stone coffin imprisoning the Yao tribes." Fengli returned the remote control to the corpse ghost king. He leaned against the temple's fence and looked up at the shining stars in the sky. "But this is His Majesty and the Empress design," Fengli said. "It's not his." The corpse ghost king gestured for Fengli to look off in the distance. Under the ancient red hibiscus tree, motes of light flew. "The sacred land now has a bit of a human touch," the corpse ghost king said. "The Kun god also stays at home and doesn't leave anymore. This is a home." Fengli looked into the distance in silence. Under the ancient trees was Fengli's mansion. Lush branches extended down, fireflies flew everywhere in the midsummer night, and the European-style courtyard had a natural fountain that made it easy for Fengli to drink from. The light sources in the courtyard were all designed as budding flowers that emitted light from within, It was extremely romantic. A butterfly flew over and stopped on the arm of the swing, folding up its wings. Inside was the nine-tailed celestial fox Fengli's nest, which was surrounded by a fence of grass and trees. Pushing open the fence, there was a beautiful hanging basket swing in the courtyard. Kita had lazily sunk into the big swing. His charger was plugged into the ground below, and he was playing with his cell phone. Since he arrived in the sacred land, Kita had been extremely bored. Basically, the only thing he could play with was his phone. He had added many entertainment facilities to the sacred land, including a yaogwai bar, a sauna, karaoke, a billiards hall, etc., but he always felt that something was missing. Sometimes he felt a bit tempted to give up and go home, but every time he saw Fengli, he gave up on that idea. "Are you satisfied with your new home?" "I'll be leaving next month," Kita said. "How did you discover me?" The butterfly's wings opened and closed, with Fengli's voice coming from it. Kita replied, "Because this butterfly feels different from the other butterflies." "What's different?" The butterfly replied, "Because I peeked at your phone." Kita laughed and put away his phone. The butterfly transformed into Fengli and sat with Kita in the hanging basket. The hanging basket was very big, and even if Fengli lay flat, his feet couldn't reach Kita. "Thank you, I really like it," Fengli said. "This is the most thoughtful gift I have received since I was young." "To be honest, I envy you from the bottom of my heart," Kita said seriously. "No one has ever given me such a gift." Fengli and Kita both laughed. Fengli's smile had a captivating charm to it, but Kita turned his head and deliberately didn't look at him. "I really don't know how to thank you anymore," Fengli said. "When I saw this scene, I was thinking about how to repay you." Kita said, "I know you don't like to owe others any kindness. You only like having others owe you kindness instead." "It's not entirely like that," Fengli replied casually. "Xiaoduo told me that occasionally you should also accept others' kindness. In this regard, you are very similar to him." "We are both kids who will never grow up," Kita said leisurely. "Would you like some wine? I know you like Martell." "I'll go get it," Fengli said. Kita had made a wine cabinet for Fengli, with countless branches and vines intertwining around the bottles. Fengli snapped his fingers and the vines unfurled, lowering the bottle. Fengli poured a cup and handed it to Kita, with their fingers lightly touching each other. Fengli returned to his seat. The two of them sat at each end of the hanging basket, and the light of the stars and fireflies shone down, as if separating two worlds, the world of Yao and humans, the world of nature and mortals, time passing in a flash, and the world that stands for countless years. "When I was putting the decorations here," Kita took a sip of wine and said, "I always think of my older sisters." "I've heard of them," Fengli said. "Your family seems to be all abroad." "N." Kita replied, "Actually, my background is very simple. There's no bitter past with grudges, nor were there many ups and downs. People like me are destined not to become the protagonist of a shonen manga. You get it, right?" Fengli couldn't help but laugh. "Mundane days are not easy to come by." "They say that," Kita sighed and replied, "all four of my older sisters are married. On my birthday, they will give me money and occasionally come back to see me and bring me some gifts. So, in the week before my birthday," Kita said, "I would always decorate the living area. I was excited non-stop, tidying up, decorating, and waiting for them to come and celebrate my birthday." "How old were you?" Fengli asked. "About 10 years old." Kita thought for a moment, shook his head, and said, "I forget." Kita drank a little wine and said in a daze, "I would decorate the whole house, then have the birthday party, and all my older sisters would then leave again, leaving me alone. I would take down everything one by one and throw it into the trash can. The next day, the sun would still rise, and I would still be alone. But after the age of 18, Kita said, they have hardly come to see me anymore. Fengli nodded without speaking. Kita finally moved closer to Fengli, leaned over, reached out his hand, and patted Fengli's knee. So, I can also understand your feelings, Kita said. Generation after generation passes by, and decades of happiness for you is like the brief day of my birthday. Having a family for a moment, and then they disappear in the blink of an eye, just like clouds drifting away. Fengli brought the wine glass closer to his lips and gazed at the martell in the glass while drinking it. This is the first type of wine I came in contact with, Fengli said. A Spaniard taught me how to drink it. He was a vampire. Kita looked at Fengli and knew what he wanted to say. Fengli almost never spoke to anyone about his own feelings, and even in front of Xiang Chen, he kept his past a secret. As far as Kita knew, the only time Fengli talked about his past was in front of Zhi Ziaduo, during that night that they soaked in the hot springs in Wolong. And he had just touched on it briefly then. Martel's history is only 300 years old. Yes, Fengli nodded and said, 8,000 years ago, after leaving the sacred land, I hid in the mountains, sometimes sheltering in the protection of mortals, sometimes struggling to survive in the mountains, and slowly becoming enlightened. It was only 300 years ago that I tasted wine for the first time. Fuyao are born with the ability to cast illusions, but my face was taken away by Huan Yang. I could not find myself, and could only be a ghost under the sun. I also tried to transform into a person, to see human society, but then my face was still that of a fox. Kita imagined the situation at that time. Fengli said, isn't a person's body with a fox's face terrifying? Kita nodded, and Fengli said, I had to cover my face with a silver mask to learn how to be a human. But no matter where I went or how many friends I made, the moment I took off my mask, they would be afraid of me. Of course, I believed that when I appeared in front of people with my fox face, no one would fall in love with me at first sight. Fengli smiled, as if implying something to Kita. What happened then? Kita skipped the topic and asked. Fengli said, in order to understand humans, I occasionally read books, especially the articles of a person named Dai Mingxi, which sparked my interest in this person. Dai Mingxi? Kita asked, was he a lot like me? No, Fengli said. Not at all. He was a literati. He was a rare case, knowing that I was a Yaoguai but was not afraid of me. I accompanied him for a while and watched him write articles. Lao Dai also had a friend who knew that I often stayed in his study. Fengli smiled and said, he was very curious about my identity, often pestered Lao Dai with questions and finally wrote me into a book called Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio. Kita looked at Fengli in surprise. Unfortunately, those good times don't last long. I didn't offend people, but people still went after me, and a deist caught me. He was very powerful and knew my weaknesses. Fengli smiled and said, the deist said that the heavens care for every living being, so he sold me to a Spaniard and told me not to come back again. I wandered back and forth to Europe, following this Spanish vampire. His name was very long, and I already can't remember it now. He counts as the first human I fell in love with, Fengli said thoughtfully. Was he a lot like me? Kita asked. No, he wasn't. Fengli was a bit surprised and replied, why do you say that? Kita gestured for him to continue speaking. Fengli then said, he also died soon, at the hands of an archbishop, so I was handed over to a Portuguese man who was a navigator. Columbus? Kita asked. Columbus' era was 200 years before I arrived in Europe. Kita said, my history classes were taught by a math teacher. Fengli laughed and replied, I traveled to the United States and settled there. I met many humans and had several romantic relationships, one with a farmer, another with a slave, and another with a beautiful Native American. I have a deep impression of him, his name was Deans. Their tribe worshipped foxes and wolves as totems, Fengli said. They were people of the western forests, and most of them were very humorous. Especially Dean's, he always made me laugh. And, as Kita was about to speak, Fengli shook his head and said, he wasn't like you. Kita's words had been blocked, and his expression grew very strange for a moment, but Fengli said seriously, no one I know is like you. He was the tribal chief and he also died soon, Fengli said. I used all my abilities, but I couldn't save him. He asked me to take care of his people before he died, but I didn't manage to. Actually, I realized it at that time, Fengli then said. I am a Yao, so I should go back to the world of Yao. It's like that feeling you said. A fleeting moment of pleasure at a birthday party, but the next day when I sobered up, I was still alone. That feeling was quite unbearable. But the Yao world could not accommodate me, so how could an outsider? I strongly missed my hometown. I unconsciously walked north, passing through Canada, and met many animals. As things changed, everything gained would be lost. I crossed the Bering Strait, returned to Asia and went all the way south into China, Fengli said. The world changed too quickly, and I was at a loss. During the War of Resistance against Japan, I accidentally saved a person surnamed Ye and entered his family as a guardian. There is always someone in the world who can accept a monster with the head of a fox, Fengli said leisurely. I changed my mind and felt that if I couldn't be friends with someone, Kita took up his words, then you would become friends with the whole family. Yes, Fengli said, the Ye family was very kind to me. 3 generations later, they have all shown great respect for me. However, I didn't expect that even such a huge family would eventually end. It all comes eventually, and all the memories are like a gust of wind. Perhaps what I love is that gust of wind, Fengli said. After the wind goes away, even traces will not be left to me. Kita's lips moved, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Gagantorura Kita, you are a good person. Thank you for everything you have done for me. Fengli took out a box, held it in his hands, and bowed slightly, saying, treat it as a token, and may our friendship endure forever. That Good Samaritan card was fired out in a shocking manner, completely soul-stirring. Endure forever. Kita was plunged into a ruthless abyss by this endure forever. Asterisk. Late that night, Zhi Xiaoduo yawned and looked blankly at the screen at Kita. Xiang Chen was behind Zhi Xiaoduo and massaging his shoulders. Your Majesty the boss snake, grant me eternal life, Kita said. Xiang Chen glanced up at Kita and said, oh. Kita, I feel like I'm going to die. Xiaoduo, tell me, aren't we brothers? You can't watch me dying and not try and save me. Zhi Xiaoduo said, Comrade Grey Wolf, you are not a Yaoguai and do not belong to my jurisdiction. You need to ask the organization to solve your emotional problems. Kita said, today I wanted to confess to Fengli. Did he force you to not say anything? Zhi Xiaoduo said sympathetically. Kita opened the box and said with a loveless expression, he gave me this. There was a short sword in the box. Kita demanded, is this for me to commit suicide with? Zhi Xiaoduo comforted him and said, no, the meaning of giving you a sword is giving you the sword of wisdom to cut off all threads of love. Kita held the sword, and Xiang Chen hurriedly said, calm down a bit. Kita flopped to the ground and said, I don't care. If Fengli doesn't like me, I'll kill myself. Hey, can you calm down? Zhi Xiaoduo said, don't be like that. It's not like Fengli is a toy and it's not like we can buy him for you. Can you give me a specific explanation of the difficulties you are facing? Xiang Chen said, I'll try my best to help you solve them. Only then did Kita put down the sword, explained what had happened, and finally said, I just have one request now, give me eternal life, otherwise I won't live anymore. Zhi Ziaduo always felt like there was a big logical bug in the sentence "give me eternal life or I will die right now in front of you," but he didn't know how to answer him for a moment. Firstly, you believe that as long as you can live forever, Fengli will consider being together with you. To begin with, that's a mistake. Xiang Cheng said, he doesn't like you because as long as he likes you, there would be no issues whatsoever. He likes me, Kita said. I know that. How do you know? Xiang Cheng asked. Kita said, he treats me differently from the other Yaoguai. It's a very marked difference. He treats humans and Yaoguai differently to begin with, Zhi Ziaduo replied. Kita was terribly upset and said, anyway, I know. Do you want to help me or not? Otherwise I'm going to kill myself right now. Okay, 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 Zhi Ziaduo hurriedly said, calm down. Or maybe we should say that he doesn't like you enough yet, Xiang Cheng said. This kind of like isn't enough to overcome the knot in his heart. I don't want to make him sad, Kita said. The problem lies with me. I know that very well, so I want to live forever. That's impossible, Zhi Ziaduo said. If I could make you live forever, then my Shifu dying really was such a waste. So many people want to live forever, so why should villains have to die? Kita said, I can exchange it for something else. Aren't you really smart? Zhi Ziaduo said, actually, I have studied this issue with Xiao Lang before. Xiang Cheng thought for a moment and said, don't be silly. Kita suddenly had a thought and said, didn't you guys know how to turn that thing? Turn me into a husky, turn me into a wolf, and wouldn't that work? What the hell? Zhi Ziaduo said, don't wolves also die? Kita said, I can cultivate a. Although the chances are pretty slim, with your guys' help and the absorption of more spiritual energy from the earth and sky veins, in a few hundred years, perhaps I can cultivate and return to a human form. Zhi Ziaduo said, give up there might have been hope before, but now it's definitely impossible. Kita, why? Zhi Ziaduo replied, after the founding of the People's Republic of China, animals are not allowed to become spirits. You don't even know that. Kita. Xiang Cheng said, it's still possible. I have communicated with the Exorcist Committee, and those who become spirits need to register themselves. Once they are on file, they can then get the certification to become a spirit. Zhi Ziaduo said, okay, I was just speculating casually, but it's absolutely not feasible to transfer human souls to animals. It's not a technical issue, but the fact that animal bodies simply cannot accommodate human souls. Then I'll just, Kita raised the short sword. Wait. Zhi Ziaduo and Xiang Cheng both hurried to say. I still have a way. Zhi Ziaduo said, comrade. Don't be hasty. Kita, talk. Zhi Ziaduo, make him fall in love with you. Kita replied, I've exhausted all my options now. I'm sure he's in love with me. I'm very sure. Xiang Cheng replied, it's still a matter of him not loving you enough. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Kita said, you guys give me a minute. Kita put away his stuff and went to open the door. Fengli stood outside. A wounded Yaoguai has arrived outside the sacred land, Fengli said. Oh, do they need treatment? Kita asked, confused. Its identity is very special, Fengli said. It may cause conflicts between Yaoguai and humans. We want to provide shelter for it, but we need you to contact the Exorcist Committee. Kita followed Fengli over, and Zhi Ziaduo heard the last sentence and looked curiously over. What is it? Zhi Ziaduo said, let me see. Fengli snapped his fingers, and lights came on all around. At the entrance of the sacred land, an injured Yaoguai appeared, clearly exhausted and lying on the ground, unable to move. A large pool of blood seeped into the ground, and its left foot had a large bite wound, which was spurting blood. That was a giant panda. Zhiziaduo. Xiang Cheng. Kita was dumbfounded, and Fengli was a bit anxious. He went forward to rub the giant panda. Hey, Kita poked the big guy and said, "Are you okay?" The panda whimpered a few times and lifted its left foot, meaning, "Can't you see for yourself how bad it looks?" End chapter. Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Extra chapter. A Thunderous Basket, Part 2. Pandas having accidents was a very serious problem, and this wasn't limited to just pandas but rather to all national first-class protected animals. Whenever they encountered trouble, the Yaogwai and Exorcist committees had to coordinate to solve the problem. According to this panda, when the incident occurred, they had sent a yak carrying a raccoon to the Chengdu Exorcist Committee for help. But the Chengdu Exorcist Committee started work at 10 a.m. and ended work at 3 p.m. every day, with a 2-hour lunch break in between. Also, people often skipped work to play mahjong instead. The Yaogwai seeking help went to contact the Exorcist Committee, but the entrance to the Exorcist Committee in Chengdu was very difficult to find. The Yaogwai grew dizzy from the twists and turns, and after searching for 3 days, it finally found it, but everyone had already left for the day. It had to go out and find a place to hide, and the next day it searched again, but couldn't find the entrance again. Finally, it managed to enter the Exorcist Committee. However, since ethnic and tribal matters were more sensitive and it didn't seem like a big issue, the Exorcist Committee did not accept the mission, and in the end, the Yaogwai seeking help was turned away. The yak had to go to the Chongqing Exorcist Committee instead. However, Chongqing was really too hot, and the yak had waited too long and it had a bit of heat stroke, so it took almost a month to get back. Subsequently, the situation escalated, and many giant pandas were injured and captured. The pandas had no choice but to make a move themselves, and they sent out reinforcements into the human world every night. This panda named Apang was their unanimously elected representative. It had climbed mountains, traversed ravines, and forded rivers, and had now trekked all the way to the sacred land to seek help from the Yao King. Pandas could not fly, let alone swim, and therefore were categorized as beasts. Naturally then, they were handed off to Fengli to deal with. "That's how it goes," the panda said indistinctly, sitting in the middle of the temple with a swollen face. It was using its paws to apply icy hot patches and had many bandages wrapped around its legs. "Who beat you up?" Zhiziaduo's voice roared on the other end of the communication spell. "So wrong. Who dared to beat up a panda? I'll avenge you. You just wait." "No one hit me," the panda replied vaguely, "I accidentally fell down the mountain myself." "Fengli. Kita. You guys have to help me, the panda pleaded, then lifted its paw and hugged Fengli's thigh. Kita said, "Can you move over a bit? I feel like you haven't even moved your butt once since arriving here." The panda moved slightly aside. Xiang Cheng asked, "How did you fall? Was someone chasing you?" The panda said, "No, I missed a step and rolled down the mountain." Everyone's mouth twitched. Fengli said, "Let's discuss what has happened, Ba. Group brawls count as your guy's internal matter. Our principle is to not interfere in a tribe's internal affairs, so we probably won't be able to help either." The panda's belly gurgled. The panda asked, "Is there anything to eat?" "Find him some bamboo," Xiang Cheng said. "No need for bamboo," the panda said. "I'll just have meat. Don't make it too salty, or else I'll shed fur when I eat it." Everyone. Kita had to ask a Yaogwai to find meat, and it brought a stack of raw beef. The panda then asked, "Do you have anything cooked? Raw meat has bacteria, so eating it is not healthy." "Kita, why are you so fussy?" The panda stopped speaking and looked innocently at Fengli. "Find it some beef jerky," Fengli said. Finally, the panda threw a bowl of ground beef into its mouth, and after it finished, it asked for some water as well. All of that took a long while, and everyone was running out of patience when the panda finally burped and began to speak. The situation was as follows. The place where the pandas lived was an undeveloped area in the Yanbi Feng Gorge Nature Reserve. Not long ago, a small-scale earthquake occurred in Yan. Several pandas were eating snacks in the trees and had accidentally rolled into a crack caused by the earthquake. Then, when the pandas launched a large-scale rescue attempt, they discovered that an ancient monster had appeared from within the crack. The monster seemed to have been trapped in the cave for a long time, and it was twice the size of an ordinary panda. It was released due to the earthquake, and after coming out, it subdued all the pandas within a few miles and captured all the panda cubs. Its eyes are like this, the panda gestured, making his eyes bulge out like a zombie's. He then looked at his paws and said, its hands are like this, and they are poisonous. When it claws like this, it... Ayayayajizayaduo shouted from the other side, how cute. Don't act cute anymore, Kita didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Hurry up and talk. The panda said, I'm not acting cute. The children were all captured, and we tried to rescue them, but the pandas who entered were all injured. We went to find humans to help, explained the panda. The exorcists don't care, so we had to come find our Yaogwai brothers. The pandas started to eat again, meaning, now you guys should do as you see fit ba. Everyone looked at each other. Xiang Cheng couldn't handle Zhiziaduo on his end, so he had to say, let's set off tomorrow. We'll see you all tomorrow ba. ******. Rescue mission. Target, panda cubs. Enemy, ancient sealed beast. Name, unknown. Hazard level, C. Gender, unknown. Case report. An ancient beast broke free from its seal and imprisoned a bunch of nearby panda cubs. Allegedly, it comes and goes like the wind, is very strong, has poisonous claws, and possesses a cruel personality. *****. The next day, outside the sacred land. 1, 2, 3 Kita and Fengli combined forces to push the panda's butt up, stuffing it into the car. Ah! Exclaimed the panda crazily, my foot hurts so much. Kita said, why don't we tie it to the roof ba? No. The panda said hurriedly, it's too hot outside. Bro, can you please suck your stomach in a bit? Kita said, can't you just turn into a person? The panda didn't want to transform into a person, so Fengli said, forget it, tuck in your belly a bit. Kita was clearly jealous and looked dissatisfied at the panda through the rear-view mirror. All right. Fengli pulled the car door shut, and the giant panda lay horizontally squeezed in the back seat, holding potato chips in one hand and stuffing food into his mouth with the other. Fengli stuck some illusion talismans on the car window to prevent the panda from being seen on the highway. Can you turn the AC up a bit? The panda asked, it's been really hot lately. Kita had to lower the temperature and drive away. Fengli turned back from the passenger seat and patted the panda's head. Thank you, Your Highness, said the panda obediently. Kita drove the car all the way to Chengdu, took the Qinjia Expressway to Bifeng Gorge, and called Zhiziaduo. It was not a big deal, and Fengli was also the king of beasts, so Xiang Cheng didn't need to personally take the initiative. Kita thought that they would wait for Xiang Cheng in Chengdu, but the panda in the back kept shouting, worried about his own tribe, so Kita had to call Zhiziaduo. Zhiziaduo had just woken up and was still having afternoon tea with Xiang Cheng. They were preparing to take an afternoon flight. Kita had no choice but to take the panda and Fengli around the city for a few laps. I really can't find the entrance to the Chengdu Exorcist Committee, Kita said to Xiang Cheng on the phone. This place is even more difficult than Beijing's elevated freeway. Xiang Cheng gave directions for a while, but they couldn't use a GPS, so he had to give up. Instead, he had them go to Bifeng Gorge to check the situation first. Do you think there's a chance for them to be together? Zhi Xiaoduo asked. Xiang Cheng was dressed in casual attire, shorts with leather shoes. He was drinking tea with his feet propped up, and he shook his head. I understand Feng Li, Xiang Cheng said. To be honest, I have also felt this kind of feelings before. Ah. Zhi Xiaoduo was a bit confused. Always mindful of personal gains and losses, Xiang Cheng said, Feng Li really hopes to be cared for. He wants to make friends, but unlike many Yaoguai, he likes mortals and hopes to be close with them. However, he is afraid that the happiness he obtains will be as temporary as a bubble right before it pops. Did you think the same before? Zhi Xiaoduo said expressionlessly. Xiang Cheng nodded and said, at the beginning, especially with you. I was afraid of losing you, but Kita also has some problems. He's a good playmate but maybe not a good lover. But what about now? Zhi Xiaoduo asked. Xiang Cheng replied, of course I don't feel that way now. Otaku have an otaku way of expressing emotions, Zhi Xiaoduo said. Otaku are not like you straight men. Zhi Xiaoduo felt that what he said was a bit strange, but he believed that Xiang Cheng would understand. Just like Kikai, Zhi Xiaoduo said, there are many ways for men to express their emotions, and not all of them have to be decisive and domineering after all. Our group of straight men, Xiang Cheng thought it was funny. Who here is still a straight man? Zhi Xiaoduo thought for a moment and stopped talking. However, Kita's intuition is pretty sensitive, Xiang Cheng said. Feng Li is somewhat interested in him. But if he doesn't say anything, I can't force him either. In the evening of the same day, Xiang Cheng and Zhi Xiaoduo went outside Wenxia Square. Let's go to the Exorcist committee first, Ba, Xiang Cheng said. We'll get everything registered, and then go to the Yao Association to take a look. Has the Yao Association been set up now? Zhi Xiaoduo asked. Xiang Cheng said, it was originally called the Yao Committee, but in order to distinguish it from the Exorcist Committee, it was renamed the Yao Association. It's right across the street from the Exorcist Committee. I'll look into how to get into the Chengdu one. Zhi Xiaoduo flipped through the yellow pages of the Exorcist Committee booklet, but Xiang Cheng said, I've been here several times before. Xiang Cheng and Zhi Xiaoduo strolled around the commercial street outside, waiting for a bus at the bus stop in front of Wenxia Square, and then got on the bus. Zhi Xiaoduo. Xiang Cheng said, the entrance of the Exorcist Committee in Chengdu is quite annoying. Zhi Xiaoduo, why? Xiang Cheng said, you'll know soon. Listen to the station announcements, we don't want to miss it. Next station, north inner side of section 3 of the East 3rd Ring Road. Next station, south inner side of section 3 of the East 3rd Ring Road. Next station, outside section 3 of the East 3rd Ring Road. Next station, east outer side of the East 3rd Ring Road section 5. Next station, outside section 1 of the South 3rd Ring Road. Next station, middle outer side of section 3 of the South 3rd Ring Road. Next station, outside section 3 of the South 3rd Ring Road. Zhi Xiaoduo. It should be the next station, Xiang Cheng said. The bus driver glanced at both of them, and Xiang Cheng nodded at the driver. As the bus passed through an alley, Xiang Cheng pressed the exit button. There were already few people left on board, and Xiang Cheng got off at an abandoned bus stop called South 3rd Ring Road, Section 2 West. Only by taking the bus can you see the station, Xiang Cheng said. It's in the middle of the two stations on the outer side of Section 3 of the South 3rd Ring Road and the middle and outer side of Section 2 of the South 3rd Ring Road. The bus will only stop there if you hit the button, and it's really difficult to find it by car. Zhi Xiaoduo was completely disoriented and finally understood why the yak had to search for such a long time every time it tried. In midsummer, the shadows of the trees were graceful, and the sun shone down on their heads. Xiang Cheng went to buy bingfen for Zhi Xiaoduo to eat. The two of them stood under the station sign waiting for the shuttle bus from the Exorcist Committee. Zhi Ziaduo was so hot that he had stuck his tongue out. Xiang Chen didn't dislike summer because when it arrived, they could wear white t-shirts, and the feel that Zhi Ziaduo gave off while wearing a white t-shirt, shorts and Vans shoes was really refreshing. When he was carrying a crossbody bag, he had a sense of youthfulness, which was Xiang Cheng's favorite. Xiang Cheng couldn't help but constantly reach out to hug Zhi Ziaduo. He even wanted to lift up his t-shirt, reaching in to touch his back. "Don't hug me anymore," Zhi Ziaduo said. "It's so hot, getting touched feels sticky." "Then hold me in your arms," Xiang Cheng laughed. Zhi Ziaduo leaned slightly against Xiang Cheng, and the two of them sat on the benches under the bus stop. The pace of life in Chengdu was slow and comfortable, and the entire city was like a giant panda, doing everything slowly. The Exorcist committee's car arrived, and the two of them got in and arrived at the Exorcist committee. Zhi Ziaduo was still thinking about the panda and wanted to be friends with it. The Exorcist committee in Chengdu was quite pleasantly cool. It was an ancient town, quiet amidst the hustle and bustle. The ancient town was lined with houses, making it the oldest news distribution center in the southwest region, with places selling materials everywhere. First-class Exorcist. Xiang Cheng presented his work permit. Zhi Ziaduo presented his identification and said, "First-class Yao subduing engineer." "Time to clock out, law." An old man at the door fanned himself with his cattail fan and said, "Are those sit-in protesters yours? Take them all away, ba. They've been squatting here for several days, and I find it pitiful watching them." Zhi Ziaduo had just entered and saw round, spherical pandas everywhere. Zhi Ziaduo. The pandas discovered that Zhi Ziaduo and Xiang Cheng had arrived. "Are you all from Bifeng Gorge?" Xiang Cheng asked. "Who are you, ah?" the leader panda who could speak asked them. Xiang Cheng's eyes flashed with dragon power, and the pandas turned around one after another. "Your Majesty! Your Majesty, you must give us justice, ah!" the leader panda exclaimed. Pandas came forth one after another, some hugging their thighs, some offering bamboo, and some pandas going to the pond in the courtyard to catch dragonflies to please Zhi Ziaduo. Zhi Ziaduo said, "Aya, how can you guys be like this? We will definitely help you solve your issues. Come here, everyone come over here." So, the pandas swarmed around Zhi Ziaduo, and Zhi Ziaduo was almost going crazy from the cuteness. For the first time in his life he realized how great it was to be the Empress. "I need to register the task first," Zhi Ziaduo said. "Wait a minute, and His Majesty will definitely help you guys out." Zhi Ziaduo, dragging a whole group of pandas with him, went to the task terminal to input the task, while also making a video call to the Exorcist committee. Chen Lang was about to leave work and was processing materials. Glancing over, his chin dropped to the ground. "What is that?" Chen Lang said, "Wait. Where are you guys?" Zhi Ziaduo made a face and said, they're all mine," before hanging up. "Let's go to the Yao Association, ba," Xiang Cheng said. "First we need to clarify the situation, and then we can make decisions for you." So, 12 pandas surged out with Zhi Ziaduo and Xiang Cheng. Zhi Ziaduo wished he could just hug the pandas and run away. However, they were all too big to be held. The pandas were actually very clever. They rushed together, lifted up Zhi Ziaduo and ran away. The entrance to the Yao Association was at the other end of the second section of the South Third Ring Road. A group of pandas rushed out of the bus station, and when they got across the road, a long Cadillac stopped there, and the pandas all got inside. They circled twice around the road and entered the Chengdu Yao Association. Compared to the Exorcist Committee, the Yao Association in Chengdu was obviously much livelier, with many tea houses along the way, and with lots of people drinking tea and listening to storytellers. The market also had many cultivation items, and occasionally one could find magical treasures that had been searched and confiscated from humans. The Yaogwai saw Xiang Cheng and Zhi Ziaduo bringing a group of pandas over and bowed to them one after another. The Yao Association was resplendent, with gold and jade interwoven across it, a gilded roof made of glazed tiles, and 2 open red doors. Xiang Cheng knocked on the door and asked, "Still on the clock?" "Coming," a bold voice said from inside. A middle-aged man came out of the room, and as soon as he saw the pandas covering the whole place, his expression changed, and he said, "OMG, why are you here again, Naya? Didn't I tell you to go back? Go, go, go. I don't have time to worry about your guys' mess. Don't hit us." The leading panda immediately hugged Xiang Cheng's left leg and said, "We are first-class protected animals. Who's afraid of Hunaya?" The middle-aged man wiped his forehead and flashed the character on his forehead. He was a northeast tiger who had cultivated into a spirit and angrily said, "Are protected animals so amazing, La? Laozi is also a first-class protected animal, so killing you tiny good-for-nothings isn't breaking the law." Zhi Ziaduo. "Xiang Cheng. You too are." The middle-aged man looked at Xiang Cheng and Zhi Ziaduo. Xiang Cheng took off his sunglasses. That man was obviously new, and he hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, please come inside and talk. These guys are really good at watching people and custom tailoring their behavior towards them," the northeast tiger said to Zhi Ziaduo. "They all rely on acting cute and selling themselves. Empress, definitely don't fall for their act." Zhi Ziaduo didn't know whether to cry or laugh, so he just nodded. "Did you just came over?" Xiang Cheng asked. Yes, the northeast tiger quickly said, reporting to His Majesty, "This lowly one was just transferred over here not long ago." "You have done well." Xiang Cheng was obviously very satisfied with the Chengdu Yao Association. With the tiger guarding it, he was sure the Yaogwai wouldn't dare to mess around. "You guys don't even cultivate regularly." The northeast tiger waited upon Zhi Ziaduo and Xiang Cheng, got them seated, and then lectured the pandas, "You don't learn any martial arts at all, and all you know is to eat and sleep. If something goes wrong on your own mountain, you don't even know what to do. All you know is to hug other people's thighs. Is hugging other people's thighs useful?" The pandas were silent. Zhi Ziaduo thought, "It's obviously very useful. How is the situation at Bifeng Gorge?" Xiang Cheng asked. "Reporting to His Majesty," replied the northeast tiger. "This is a problem within their own clan. Logically speaking, we shouldn't help outside tribes, or what will we do in the future? The panda's own territory is in turmoil, and if we take care of it, someday the hippopotamuses will also come for help, the porcupines will also come, and then the elephants and giraffes or whatever. The Yao Association can't take care of all of them. What do you think?" Zhi Ziaduo asked, "But didn't they say they encountered an ancient monster?" "Ha!" The northeast tiger replied, "Don't listen to these panda cowards talking nonsense. What ancient monsters? That's their own people. They're just panda Yao who gained enlightenment several thousand years ago." Xiang Cheng nodded and said, "If the perpetrator is also a panda and no humans have been harmed, we cannot intervene. We can't play favorites and not treat an ancient panda as a panda, right? Drink some of this." The northeast tiger poured some tea for Zhi Ziaduo and said, "It's from my hometown." Zhi Ziaduo thought to himself that this northeast tiger was really interesting. "What should we do?" Xiang Cheng asked Zhi Ziaduo. "You can't interfere," Zhi Ziaduo said, "and Feng Li probably can't either. I can try to mediate the matter." "I already agreed, La." The northeast tiger thought for a moment and said, "That's kind of you. I'll call for a car to send your Majesty and the Empress over there." "Let them stay here for the time being, Ba," Xiang Cheng said. "Let me check on the situation first. Once it's safe, you can call another bus to collectively send all the pandas back. Otherwise, if they just sit in the Exorcist committee and don't move, it'll be bad for our Yao Association as well." "That's for certain," the northeast tiger said. I'll handle things here, don't worry. Zhi Xiaoduo and Xiang Cheng came out and heard the northeast tiger lecturing the group of pandas inside. Did you hear that? Don't make things embarrassing for His Majesty. At night, Kita and Fengli arrived at Bifeng Gorge and parked their car by the roadside. The panda said, "We're here." Halfway through getting out of the car, the panda's butt got stuck. Kita had to crawl in and push from the other end, and Fengli grabbed the panda's paws and pulled it out with all his might. Kita really couldn't stand this panda and said, "You've all already become enlightened but you can't even shape-shift." "No, the panda said blankly, "no one taught us." "Then what can you do?" Kita asked. "I can talk," the panda sat on the ground and said. "Get up quickly," Fengli said. "Don't sit down. Lead the way, lead the way." Kita was clearly not very interested in this species. The panda got up and led the way, looking around as it walked. "Are we here yet?" Fengli asked. "There's still a long way to go," replied the panda, grabbing some bamboo and stuffing it into its mouth as it walked along. Kita followed behind with a flashlight, walking side by side with Fengli. On summer nights, Bifeng Gorge was very cool, and crickets were chirping in the bushes. "When we get back, I'm planning to use some lihan pollen," Kita said to Fengli. What Fengli, hearing a completely unrelated topic so suddenly, felt a bit stunned for a moment. "When the time comes," Kita smiled and patted Fengli's shoulder with one hand, "I won't remember you anymore." N. Fengli seemed to be hesitating, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He nodded and said, "I will respect your choice." Kita then asked, "Do you still think of the people you liked?" Fengli was stunned again and then replied, "No, I don't think of them." Kita and Fengli walked silently along the way, with an awkward air between them. "So, that's what you think?" Fengli suddenly said. "What?" Kita replied. "If I don't accept a deeper relationship," Fengli said, "then you would rather treat our long-standing friendship up until now as if it had never happened." Kita. "I'm going to sit for a bit," the panda said, "you guys take your time to chat." "No, hurry up," Kita said impatiently. Fengli said, "Please don't bother yourself any further. You can go back. I will solve the problems within our Yao tribes myself." Kita was a bit surprised and said, "Are you angry?" Fengli calmly stood under the starry sky, and the bamboo forests of Bifeng Gorge rustled in the wind. Kita was surprised and said, "You're actually angry?" "Yes," Fengli replied, "I'm angry." "This is very reasonable." Kita laughed and spread out his hands, "Since you don't want to be with me, I certainly don't want to waste time on you anymore. Isn't that very fair?" Fengli replied, "But I won't forget you, Gagantorura Kita, because you. I can't even rank in your memories," Kita replied. "Go back, Ba," Fengli said, displeased that he was interrupted. "Don't waste any more time on me. I have put in a lot of effort," Kita said. "I have never been so sincere in my dealings with anyone ever before in my life." "No need to say any more," Fengli interrupted Kita's words and replied, "If fate allows, we'll meet again. Panda, let's go." "Hey." Kita caught up and said, "Fengli, I'm sorry, I just said that on purpose." Fengli didn't answer and walked calmly along the canyon path. Kita said, "I thought you really didn't care about me at all." Fengli changed into his fox form and ran away, but Kita lengthened his stride to catch up with him. "Aya, don't get angry so easily," Kita said. "I just hope to communicate with you like an ordinary friend. Just like just now, wasn't that good?" "You always wear a mask," Kita said, "no matter when and where, you're never willing to express your own feelings. It makes me feel very lost, Fengli." "Hey." "Fengli." Kita suddenly said, "I love you." Fengli quickened his pace and entered the dense forest. Kita shifted into the grey wolf and infiltrated the forest. His body shone brightly, illuminating the surrounding area. The nine-tailed fox crouched on a branch, its starry eyes fixed on the grey wolf on the ground. The grey wolf squatted down and scratched its ears with its hind legs. "Which is the true you?" The grey wolf said in a simple and honest voice, "You have no desires or wants, and you never show any anticipation for anything. You don't want anything, just like a model worker. It seems like you're living for others, but you also have your own sense of self, right?" The nine-tailed fox did not answer. The grey wolf turned its head and said, "You are a good person. Fenley, if someone asks you to do something, you will help them. You basically answer every request, whether it's from your superiors or subordinates. You never refuse them, but I know what you want. You want friends and family, right?" The grey wolf said, "To be honest, I fell in love with you at first sight. I like you. I know you are like me, and you long for someone who will always be with you. I am not a Yaogwai, I am a human. Yes, I cannot live that long, and I will definitely leave this world before you. Your lifespan is long, and my lifespan is short." The grey wolf turned his head and glanced around, saying, "But I believe that many things, although not permanent, do not become meaningless just because they are short. Didn't Buddha say that? An instant is eternity." "How touching," the panda said under the tree, eating bamboo. "If you still mind this," the grey wolf said, "I have a way. I can gain eternal life, and then I'll always be by your side, and you will never be sad about it again." The nine-tailed fox, "Don't talk anymore, I won't agree. I don't have any feelings for you, don't think nonsense." The grey wolf looked up at the nine-tailed fox in the tree, grinning mysteriously at it. The grey wolf, "I have asked." "I don't love you," the nine-tailed fox said. "You don't have to think about it anymore." The grey wolf, "Why are you so stubborn?" The nine-tailed fox followed the panda to leave while the grey wolf trotted along, wagging its tail and following behind the nine-tailed fox and the panda. "It's right down here." The panda clawed the cliff and looked down. The nine-tailed fox and grey wolf poked their heads out. "I'll go down and take a look," the nine-tailed fox said. The panda asked the grey wolf, "How can you gain eternal life?" "It's none of your business," the grey wolf said rudely. End chapter.